Okay. Well, I would like to say good evening to everybody. We're going to give our audience a minute or two to join us. And if you can, let us know where you're joining us from. We are live with Yellowbird Traditional Storytelling, Winter Storytelling, and we're so honored for our guest tonight, and I'm excited to introduce him. But we'll give people just a minute to log on, and I'm going to check here on. So we are live both on Facebook and we are live on YouTube as well. And we're live right now, but this will be on our Facebook page and on our YouTube. So if you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch it, or if you want to watch it over, you can certainly do that as well. So I'm just going on to Yellowbird's Facebook page to see if there's any comments and see if there's anyone listening to us tonight. And when we're on a different platform, so sometimes it's hard to see that on the platform that we're on right now. Okay, we ask if you could share with your friends and relatives. And I know right now, you know, there is, where we are in Montana, there's a big blizzard that we just came through, and we got so much snow, but it's so beautiful. You know, with the snow comes renewal of life. And that's a part of all of our teachings. So my name is Lynette Two Bulls. My traditional name is Duenya Kiapiwi. I would just like to greet all my relatives out there. My traditional name translates as Scouts the Way Woman. And my name was given to me by my grandparents, Matthew and Nellie Two Bulls. And I was raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. My homeland's there in the Payabia community. My mother is Malvina Winters. I'd like to send a greeting to her tonight as well, and all my relatives in South Dakota. And I imagine they're probably all in Rapid City. Despite the storm, they're probably all there at the Alanai Lakota Nation Invitational Tournaments, where it's such a massive gathering of youth, of young people, just really empowering them through sports, through language, through the language bowls, archery, everything, poetry slam. I know First Peoples Fund is, you know, having hosting poetry, spoken word. So all of that is part of our way of life and part of the arts. And that's what we're doing here with our Yellowbird traditional storytelling. And traditionally for us, our stories were told in the wintertime. And so we just started our storytelling up again. And for these sessions in the month of December, we partnered with First Peoples Fund. And they're an arts organization based out of Rapid City. And they honor and acknowledge our culture bearers. And so, you know, we've been highlighting some of the culture bearers the last few sessions. And when we kicked it off, we had the president of First Peoples Fund, Lori Puyer, on our program as well. And she talked about the Community Spirit Award honorees and the importance of it and the importance of the arts in our community. And for us, I think, as you hear from the artists, I know that you're going to see and understand and feel how it's not really art as a separate thing, because art is a part of our life ways. It's a part of everything that we do. And the beauty of art, you know, is interwoven into all of our life, all aspects of our life. So I just wanted to share that this morning or this evening. And I'm going to have to put on my glasses so I can read, but I wanted to share a little bit about our guest that is with us tonight. And he is coming from, he's coming live virtually from Hilo, Hawaii. and his name is Duncan, and Duncan Seto, and his traditional name, Kaohu. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Kaohu, and that means the mist. And I think that's really powerful. And I'm sure there's a story behind that as well. So I'm just going to share some information about him. He's a teacher, an advocate, a master weaver. He uses his native Hawaiian ancestral gifts to reconnect to ancestors and to help heal our communities. And here at Yellowbird, that's everything that we do as well. So it's really heartwarming to hear that, because I think it's like that in all of our communities. Everything that we do when we're connected to the land and the people is about empowering our communities. It's about healing. It's about reconnecting to our life ways. So I love hearing that. Tonight he's going to be sharing, and he has some photos, so he's going to be showing some of his photos. He's going to be sharing more of his art. And one of the things I asked him is, I thought was really interesting. I asked him to explain his art. And he said, I was a contemporary artist, but I moved to traditional art. I found our traditional art through our contemporary. And I think that's really interesting, because a lot of times, we go back to our roots. We go back to where we came from, and that's usually the land. And so I'm just going to share that much, and I'm going to turn it over to Kaohu so he can share. And also right now there's a lot of interesting things happening in Hawaii with the eruption of one of the volcanoes. So he's going to share some stories around that as well. So I encourage you, let us know where you're joining us from, and also share on your page, share with your family and friends. So thank you.
Aloha, aloha kako, aloha ahi ahi kako. Good evening, everybody. My name is Duncan Ka'ohu Oglala Seto. My name is The Mist, but the full name is The Mist on Mount Ka'ala, which is where I was born. And my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, she looked toward the mountains that morning I was born, and that's what she saw. So she gave me the name Ka'ohu Oglala, so the mist on Mount Ka'ala, which is the highest point on the island of Oahu. Normally, before we start, we usually call this talk story sessions. You call it storytelling. Back home, we'll say, "Oh, this is just talk story," so that's it feels more informal. Yeah. So before we usually start any undertaking, we do a prayer, a pule, and I will do a chant. It's an asking chant. So I'm asking that this interview goes well. Okay. E ho mai gai ke mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e huna mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. E ho mai gai ke mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e huna mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. E ho mai ai ke mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e huna mele e. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. Mahalo. Aloha. I'm going to introduce my genealogy to you, which is what Lynette did. And that's usually how we, a lot of times we connect and greet each other in the islands. We connect our genealogies. both my grandmothers, my paternal and maternal grandmothers were pure Hawaiian. My paternal grandmother is from this island, which I'm on right now, the Big Island. And then my maternal grandmother is from the opposite end of the archipelago on the island of Kauai. So they're from both ends. We go from the furthest ends of this whole archipelago. So those are my grandmothers. I'm on the island of Hilo right now, and this is a photo of Hilo Bay on a beautiful, clear night. We're at the ocean, Hilo Bay, and that's Hilo Town lit up at night. And it goes pretty much up to the horizon below the Mauna, and that's the mountain above is Mauna Kea. And we were in the news a couple of years back because scientists were trying to put a huge 30-meter telescope on top of that mountain, which is sacred to Hawaiians. And back about putting up anything. So the University of Hilo got into a lot of hot water for doing all of that and going against the wishes of the kupuna that live in this beautiful island, on this island. Let's see, what's the next slide? This is my, I was honored in 2016 along with Lynette for my work in the community. I had never really heard about First People's Fund, and it was by a fluke that I got involved with First People's Fund because, and it's a funny story. I actually was, they had the business classes that they were offering, artisan business classes. And I must have read the article wrong because the day I came wasn't for just the public, the artists. The session I went to was for train the trainer. So I was wondering how come a lot of my artist friends aren't here in this meeting, and come to find out it was just probably three of us in the training session. And I thought, you know what, I'm here already, I might as well stick it out. And that's how I got involved with First People's Fund, and kind of blew my mind that they thought of us. I never thought of myself prior to this as a culture bearer. And when I think back about it now, that's what I was doing when I got involved with other things like weaving. And I actually started off as a visual artist. I did drawings and paintings. This is one of my pieces from one of my shows. And I started off with a Hawaiian artist as my kumu, or my teacher. And I progressed through probably the 60s is when I actually started, during the 1960s, as a teen, a preteen. And then I just stuck with it because I think it was my mother that kind of walked me down that path. I used to watch her draw, and I thought, hey, I think I can do that. And I was also an introvert, so a lot of times you go into yourself, and that was your release, just focusing on drawing and painting. So I stuck it out all the way through my high school years. And back in the 1970s, a lot of things were happening in Hawaii. It was called our Renaissance, our cultural Renaissance. The music was exploding. A lot of demonstrations. We were becoming more aware of the land and our history and what was taken from us. And those are the years that Hawaiian culture really flourished, awakening pretty much, our Renaissance. So I belong to an art group that was really one of the earliest Native Hawaiian art groups in the islands. Prior to that, there was none. We were all in separate and by ourselves. So during the 70s, I belonged to a group that brought together all of these Native Hawaiian artists, and we would put on Native art shows as a protest to what was being presented out there. There was really no Hawaiian art, Native art being presented at all in any galleries, anywhere. So we would put on shows all through the island, and wherever we could find a building to put up a library, we would show our pieces. And by the way, this piece that I'm kneeling under it's called a pahale. It's the rooftop of a building. Hawaiians had pretty much gathering places in the old days, and I'm talking pre-Cook days. So what this represents is the pahale, the place where we would gather, and that image above my head is the god Lono. So right now, Lono was one of our four major gods. So right now we are in the time of Lono, the season of Lono. I was explaining earlier that people think we don't have any seasons in Hawaii, that it's all one summer, but it's not. We have both our wet and our dry seasons. So right now we've entered into the season of Lono, which is represented by that image above me. And he's a benevolent god, a god of healing, of agriculture, of games. And it's during this time of the year that everybody reconnects with relations and the land. And there is no war. War stops. And that just goes to show how strong this God was, that it could stop wars. And for example, when Captain Cook discovered the islands, we just happened to go from, there was a civil war going on among the chiefs on these islands. So because we were in the time of Lono, which is who he is, the god, everything ceased, the wars ceased. So Cook thought, oh, great, came at the right time. There's a lot of food, there's festivities, there's games. And boy, I came at the right time. And he did, but unfortunately, he returned when the seasons changed and they went back to warring. But that's just a little bit of the history that, and that's how I discovered my roots through painting and learning and studying and listening to the elders and wanting to learn more, because up to that time, I really didn't know a lot about my culture and myself. But then we took it to the next level. I decided to learn how to weave. I also was I would attend a lot of craft fairs. I should say that I did wear a lot of hats during my during the time I was learning all of this. And by the way, I'm at the age of 68, going to be 69. So I'm a retiree, but prior to that, I wore many hats. Besides being a husband, a grandfather, and an artist, a two-dimensional artist. I also learned how to weave lauhala. And lauhala believes that we work with, I know a lot of native tribes work with bark and roots. We work with a lot of different things also, but I'm just focusing on this one tree. It's called lauhala. It's a very prehistoric plant. It's been around for ages, and the Hawaiians knew the value of this plant. They brought it with them through their travels through the Pacific. Yeah, they always brought things with them that they knew they could use in the new lands that they found. So I had been fortunate enough to learn from an elder that lived in the area I lived in, and I just wanted to learn one thing from her. I just wanted to learn how to make a case for my hair picks, because at the time, that's all I pretty much made at the craft fairs. I made hair picks. So just the fact that I wanted to learn that, it started me down this road to learn this craft. And it's a very old, ancient craft. Um, without without these leaves, without this weaving tradition, Hawaiians could not have come to the Hawaiian Islands because the sails for these canoes were made out of this leaf that I'm working with. I weave with, um, and that's been my passion for all these a lot of years. And because of that, I got into baskets, barrel baskets, and repatriation. Back in the, I believe it was the mid '90s, there was a federal law, the NAGPRA, the Native Graves and Repatriation Act. I believe our the Hawaiians were the first to jump on it and start repatriating our the bones of our ancestors from the museums. And the very first museum that we did repatriate from was the Smithsonian. Um, back in those days, we I well, that was my job. My kuleana, my responsibility was to teach the people in our group, our repatriation group, how to make these baskets, these burial baskets we call them. It was such, we were so passionate at the time about it because what was happening in Hawaii was a lot of the people were companies are coming in and making hotels on these beautiful beaches, not knowing that there were burials beneath the sands, and that's how our people, the Hawaiians, would bury. They would do sand burials. There were cave burials, and there were also burials in underwater caves, and also if you belong to the Pele clan, the clan of the fire, the volcano, then I heard that they would bury theirs in the lava flow. Um, this is also this photo right here is of me teaching a class down in on the Oahu Island. There was a big repatriation of about over 1,000 sets of bones from the Bishop Museum. So it's been an ongoing project. The Bishop Museum had helped the Department of Defense build a runway strip in this bay, Kaneohe Bay, they call it. And there was a dune system in that bay area that was blocking them from making a runway strip for the jets. And this was during, you're talking about the Korean War time. So what happened was they needed an airstrip to land. The Marines needed to land their jets. So they decided to remove this sand dune. And when they removed the sand dune, over 1,000 sets of remains presented themselves. So they just took it and shelved all of these bones of our ancestors in the museum. So it's been years. We've been working over a decade with the Marines and with the Bishop Museum to repatriate these bones. And this is a start. Maybe we only got 30 for now, but we just got to keep making more and more burial baskets. And for this project, it was a family affair. I had my pretty much my whole family, my daughter-in-law, all helping out to teach all of these Hawaiians that wanted to be involved how to weave. And they all feel it's their responsibility, their kuleana to do this, especially if they live in the area that these bones were taken from, because they could be directly connected to these bones. And the Hawaiians believe that your bones hold your energy, your mana. Yeah. So if you needed to take care that the mana isn't desecrated. Some chiefs, if they're battling chiefs from different areas, what they would want to do is take your bones and make them into fish hooks because they believe that the bones, the iwi, possessed mana energy. So that energy would help them to, especially fishermen, how to catch fish. So that's some of the beliefs, Hawaiian beliefs in the bones, the iwi. Um, the 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 photo prior to this, with the large basket, this was the latest one I've done, and this is a full set of bones. Um, and I normally don't make it that big, and a lot of times we don't have that many bones when we go to museums. They just have uh, different parts of the anatomy. But this one was a full set, and I don't know how my friends find out, but when they want a native burial, they want a basket burial, they somehow find me. So I end up making these baskets for them. And this one was a really sad case, because the boy was 20 years old, so really terrible. But to to me, it's you need to give them a good send off. If that's what they wanted, if that was their last request, to be buried in this fashion, then we'll do it. We'll do it for them. That's it. Would be their last request. So it's a good feeling doing it. It's not easy to do it, and it takes a lot of leaves to make something this huge. But I'll do it. I've done it before, many times. And we call it coconut wireless, where the people behind the scenes find out who does these kind of things, and I end up doing it. If I can't do it, my son knows how to do it. Also, I've also trained my son to weave, and he's my son is in his 40s, and he's a better weaver than I am at his age, because I would drag him along with me to all of these workshops, and he got to meet all the elders that wove. So a lot of people wouldn't believe, especially the locals here in the weaving community, and it's a tight knit community in Hawaii. All the weavers know each other. Yeah, so a lot of them specialize in hats. To them, that's the epitome. That's the height of weaving with these leaves, hat makers. But I know how to hat weave, and that's not my strong point. But I do love the other things, the 101 other things you can do with this leaf, the plant, the leaves of this plant. Um, okay, so this painting I had just finished for my son. It's a triptych, 3 pieces, and it's called the Ho'ikamole, which means in Hawaiian, return to the source. So my son is an entertainer, so he said, Dad, I need something for my CD. Can you do this? So he explained to me what he wanted, and then I just slept on it, and this is what I came up with. It's the background, if you notice, is the silhouette of a mauna, the mountain in the back. That is actually Mauna Loa, and the reason I used that was because my idea was that normally when lava comes down and destroys a community, it for some reason it leaves some areas unscathed and green. And it's really unusual to see these, and kipuka they call it, these little islands, these oases out there in the middle of a lava field, thriving. So in my mind, and for his CD cover, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have a spring also that survived this lava flow, and in the spring, water. With water, you can grow anything. So that kipuka has everything in it that you need to survive. It has sweet potato in there. It has bananas. It has breadfruit. It has pretty much the main things to survive on, and also on the image on the right is the person leaving the kipuko with all of these goodies um, on with a pole that he can carry everything down. We call that a pole in awamo. It's a carrying pole. So he had a carrying pole with all the goodies coming back. Yeah. So it's like out of this disaster, this spring, this oasis is surviving out there. And again, the importance of water, to everyone. But it's a funny thing that the night that our mauna erupted up in and we could see the glow from my backyard, and that morning um, there was I just had a fitful sleep that night, and then when I got up that morning and looked toward the mauna, not knowing that it had erupted, I saw some really strange clouds up there. And if you notice the first cloud to the left, that's exactly where the highest fissure. There were 4 fissures that spewed molten lava, but that fissure was right there at the first cloud area, which is. And I had to really look at it back and forth. I had to double check myself if I was seeing things. And yeah, that's pretty much the area where the biggest fissure was on the Mauna. And we refer to that, the eruptions up here and the lava, we refer to it as Pele, Madam Pele. When I teach my Lauhala class, I like to go into the background of the proverbs and stories that surround Lauhala. And Pele pretty much is one of the major goddesses that I talk about, because when I say okay, how did Hala come to the Hawaiian Islands, and there's a story that Pele came from Kahiki or Tahiti, and she traveled from Tahiti to the furthest on the chain. Our archipelago is Kauai, the island of Kauai, and it's to the furthest to the north, northwest. So she paddled there with her family. She tried to make a home there. She couldn't. She found water. When she dug the hole for her to make her home, she couldn't live there. So she moved on to the next island down the chain, which is Oahu. She tried there. She failed. She couldn't find a home. So she moved to the next island, which is Maui. Again, she couldn't find a place for a home. So her family paddled in the channel between Maui and the Big Island, which is where I'm at. And as she was paddling her canoe paddles were getting stuck in all of these roots. So when she yanked up the roots, she was so enraged, she tore them up and she flung them to the winds. And that's how they say Hala came prevalent on the Big Island. By flinging these roots to the wind, they found a place to the island and started growing. So I mentioned that in one of my legends about how Hala came to the Hawaiian Islands, or Hawaii Island. So that is one story about Pele. And I am not of the Pele clan. I'm not of the Fire clan, but the person who taught us about the repatriation is our Pua Kanakaole is her name, and her family are from the Pele clan. So and it's an unusual thing to have somebody still worshiping the fire goddess nowadays. A lot of people, if they're very religious, will not pay attention to her. They'll disrespect her, and being around Pua and her husband, we they told us a lot of stories about, you know, strange things that happened to people who disrespect her. And I, you know, to me, everybody I hang around with would respect her and call her Tutu Pele out of respect. And Tutu is like your grandmother. So you showing her respect that way. A lot of them will give offerings to her. A lot of people who don't know how end up littering the caldera up in the volcano area. They you know, and they think they're showing respect, but they really aren't. They litter. They a lot of people feel that she likes alcohol, so they would take the bottle and just throw it into the caldera, and you know the glass shatters on the bottom and everything, so making a mess. But there's other ways to do that, you know, to show respect in other ways. But yes, her spirit is very much alive in these islands, especially more so on the Big Island where she shows herself. And you know, in Hilo, we were surrounded by a lot of nature, and you know, nature really shows herself here, and a lot of disasters also. Hilo is really known for its um, tidal waves also. So that photo you saw earlier, the bay in Hilo Bay, it's been inundated at least three times in the history of this Hilo town. And they built this huge break wall outside in Hilo Bay, thinking that they would stop, you know, the next tidal wave that comes. And, you know, that's to be seen. We, so far, knock on wood, we've been lucky. But yeah, Hilo's been hit a lot with tidal waves, natural disasters, you know, besides earthquakes. And, you know, the volcano really shakes this island up prior to it erupting, and yeah, it's kind of to me it's a wake up call. Like, you know, she's saying to us, "Hey, I'm here, I'm still here," and she just rattles your house. Kind of a little disturbing, but not really. After a while, you get used to it. But yeah, and where I live, and I'm not far from where the eruption was. So I've heard in the past it's come close to the subdivision I live in. So I keep an eye out a lot. I have to really watch the news she was going, but I never did drive up there to see her. Yeah, it's just crazy the amount of tourists that go up there, and even the locals, day and night. It's crazy. But yeah, we could see the glow from our backyard. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of it's kind of frightening, and at the same time, you know, it's awe-inspiring when you see those kind of things happening. Yeah, the earth is alive. Um, any other any other things you any questions coming in?
See if there's any questions. I told people to put in the chat if they have any questions here. But thank you, Duncan. That was very informative and some very good information. And what I got from it is just the commonalities between our cultures. Like here, you know, we're freezing right now, and it's supposed to get like 15 below zero here pretty soon in the next couple of days. And there you are, you know, and the beauty and the warmth and all of that. But yet there's still so many commonalities, you know, from where we are to where you are. And some of the things that really struck me was you were talking about repatriation and your burial baskets. And right now, you know, we're preparing for a 400-mile run that we do with youth. We take them to Nebraska, and they run back to remember their ancestors that were killed at the fort down there. And they were just trying to come home back north. They were trying to make it home, and they locked them up and held them without food or water, and they were threatening to send them back to Oklahoma, which, you know, that wasn't their they weren't used to that climate and that place, and they just wanted to come back here. And so this was after the Battle of the Little Bighorn. But what happened was they decided to break out on January 9th, 1879. And the majority of them were killed. There was, you know, there's different reports from 130 to 150 people. And it was Chief Dull Knife and Little Wolf's, or just Chief Dull Knife's people. Little Wolf, he went up, continued up north. And so we take youth down there to remember their ancestors, but to finish the journey that they could not. And when those ancestors broke out, some of them they chased for about 40 miles, you know, up in the hills, and, you know, they were being hunted like animals. And they hid in this dugout along a creek bed, and the cavalry charged them in 4 directions and pretty much shot them point blank, you know, just real close. And they took them, the remains, to DC to study the effects of gunpowder at close range. So the ancestors were held over there for over 100 years. And finally, after the Indian Graves and Repatriation Act, you know, the Northern Cheyenne people were able to bring them home, bring them here. And so they are laid to rest, you know, in a little town on the reservation called Busby, Montana. So that's where our youth run to. So we run from Nebraska and all the way to there. So, you know, you were talking about that, and it's, you know, I feel that by doing this, one of the stories that were told by the rancher, this location where they were killed on this land is now owned by a rancher that lives there. He has cattle, and he told us that when he first, you know, moved out there, he could hear cries at night, and he could hear, you know, he heard a lot of different things. And ever since we came there, you know, we started acknowledging them. And since we started bringing youth there and praying and singing our songs and, you know, offering food and water to the spirits. And he said ever since then, he doesn't hear anything. And so you mentioned, you know, like they deserve that. They deserve that proper burial and to be acknowledged in a proper way. So it made me think of that when you were sharing that story. And then the other thing you're talking about, you know, this time of year, this season. So we were talking about, you know, winter time and this time of the year, and, you know, we're getting close to the winter, to the solstice. And it's a time of reconnection, and a time of, you know, reconnecting back to our own spirit, but also, you know, the stories and sharing of intergenerational knowledge and wisdom and the language and, you know, art. Like this would be the time where the women would do beadwork. You know, they would do their beadwork, and they would, you know, we make medicines in the wintertime, you know, for those that need it. And so all of that, you know, that commonality, even though it may not be as cold over there as it is here, you know, it's still the same belief system and the same ways that we think of this time of the year. And so all of these, you know, just brought all of this to mind. But one of the things that I had a question on is the plant that you use to make your burial baskets and your hats, and what plant is that?
That's called pandanus. And
Mm,
it pretty much grows around the world in a temperate zone that near the equator. Yeah. So if you go too high above a certain zone or too low where it gets too cold, it won't grow. But it's a prehistoric plant, and there's so many things you can do. I just weave, I'm known for weaving, but I know all the other things you can do with the plant, the medicinal uses of the plant, um, the use of the plant during hard times. They call it um, when times of famine, they can also eat that. There's certain parts of that tree that can be eaten in times of famine, and none Hawaiians nowadays don't even know that anymore, that you could eat certain parts of that plant. But yeah, we those are the kind of things that I need, I need to be kept alive. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's really true. And I think that's the importance of programs like this, so we can share some of that. And some, some things, some information is done in different settings too, privately,
Mhm.
sharing amongst elders to the next generation. But I think sharing this general information for people and bringing back the importance of our ways. And there's a reason for everything, there's a reason why we do things. And so I was just looking here. Bill said, thank you for sharing. Have you gone to make offerings there in the past? So I assume he's talking about the volcano. Yeah.
I've taken my grandson to give offerings, and taught him the ways, the proper way to do it in the chant. Yeah, so he knows. And there's a funny story that, also being an artist, a contemporary artist, we had a gathering up on our island, in the middle of our island, called Waimea. And we brought artists in from all over the different countries. We had First Nations, we had Maoris, you know, and one of the things that before we ended the gathering, there was about a 2-week gathering where everybody got together and created art, just art, and we exchanged ideas and things. So one of the field trips that everybody took was to go up to the volcano. So they had about 2 busloads of natives, Native Americans, Hawaiians, and Maoris. They were all, and we were going to take them up to see Pele. But they stopped the bus. The park rangers actually stopped the buses from going to see Pele because they said, "Oh, it's too dangerous." And she was kind of active at that time, and she was rumbling a lot. So there were a lot of earthquakes and things. So they wanted to stop the bus, and they got into a confrontation with the rangers. And one of the rangers happened to be a native Hawaiian. So they had to really push their case, saying, you know what, she's not going to harm us. We're here to show respect. All these other natives behind me from different countries want to show respect. We'll take responsibility. Anything happened to us, we're not going to sue you or anything. So you have to actually say that to them before they let us go. And everybody went up and showed respect. It was a beautiful thing, but that confrontation was awesome. It was like, oh, but that's our way. That's our, you cannot stop us from doing those kind of things. That we respect her, we pretty much worship her, and we want to show our, gratitude through prayer, melees. People made gifts to offer her, especially artists. So I thought, oh, that was an interesting encounter.
Yeah, I would love to visit there and show my respect too. I've been to, Oahu and Molokai and but haven't been there yet. So that's a place I would love to come visit and show my respect and
I don't
maybe
know.
come say hello to you too.
Yeah, we got room here. Come on down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me look to see if there's any other questions. Yeah, just a lot of comments. I admire that you personally respect grandmother Pele and don't go up there at eruption. um, yeah, just a lot of comments. But thank you so much. We, you know, I really am honored that you came on and got to share some of your work and share some of your artwork and your way of life. You know, I know that's for artists, it really is a way of life. And especially it's so connected to, you know, our teachings and our stories. So it's important to continue to share that. So thank you. Thank you for coming on. We'll
More
be
than
back.
welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mahalo.
Okay. Yeah. Mahalo. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. And I hope you enjoyed, you know, you can always come back and watch this program again, both on Facebook Live or on YouTube, and continue sharing it, you know, with your friends and family. And I think, you know, it's really important. We get so caught up in life and a fast pace, you know, always we don't have time to center ourselves and to bring our spirit down close to the earth so we can listen, not just with, you know, one of my uncles, Lekshi Chris Eaglehawk, he always says, don't listen with just your ears, you know, listen with all of your senses, listen with your eyes and listen with, you know, and that's what we need to learn to do. And that's, you know, we need to teach that to our young people, to slow down, get off all of, you know, you know, this is a social media platform. Thankfully, we're able to reach people this way, but you know, we need to know when we need to get off and center ourselves and stay connected to the earth and our teachings and all of that, and especially our elders. You know, learning from our elders is so important. And so, yeah, so thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you all back next Wednesday again, right here on our Yellowbird Lifeways traditional winter storytelling. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.